In this chapter, we're going to be taking a look at a new feature in HTML5 called geolocation. And it basically allows you to get the geographical location of your users, with their permission of course, and use that information inside your page. For users using a standard desktop computer at their home or office, the location may be the position of the nearest hub or the connect point for their service provider. But on mobile devices especially, it will be the user's exact coordinates from their smartphone or tablet GPS. Now I've got my working files open to Chapter 8, and let's open up the file that we have there, try geolocation. I'll open it up in the browser, and we'll go ahead and open it up in TextEdit as well. As usual, I have some basics set up in the file for us to get started with. In this case, I've got a couple of paragraphs for latitude and longitude. Remember, we're talking about GPS locations. And I've also got a button down here that my user is going to click to get their location. Notice the span tags with the IDs of latitude and longitude right here for the actual values that we're going to be inserting so we can see them on the page. And I'd also like to point out that our button already has an on-click event handler set to call a function called getPosition. And down here in our script block, we've got the getPosition function started out for us. All we need to do is add the geolocation part. The first thing we actually want to do is we want to have our function check and see if geolocation is a property that this browser supports. So let's start off with an if statement. I'll set up if, and then I'm going to call an object called navigator.geolocation. By placing it inside of an if statement like this, when we call navigator geolocation, we'll get a true value if the browser supports the feature, and of course we'll get a false value if the browser doesn't. So I'm going to set up some braces here for the true option, up here at the top, and then let's set up an else block for the false option. On the true side of things, if our user's browser does support geolocation, we simply want to ask for their current position. So let's call a function up here. I'll start it off with navigator.geolocation again, and I'll call the getCurrentPosition function. We're basically going to leave it up to the browser to find out where they should get that position from. And that's what's so nice about this new feature. It's pretty easy to use. All I need to do when calling this function is give it the name of another function that it's going to call when it gets the position. So let's create a function called showPosition. I'll set the name up right inside this function call. We'll close up the statement, and that's pretty much all there is to getting the position. Now we do want to have a way to handle the else block down here. And what I'll do is add a message. Remember, this part of our JavaScript deals with if navigator geolocation is false, meaning the browser does not support geolocation. So we just need to have a message for the user saying that these features won't work. I'll use an alert statement, and we'll just put in a message there. This browser does not support geolocation. We'll finish off the alert call. And now our getPosition function is set up, but of course we need to do something with the showPosition function over here as well. So let's define that right down below. I'll go down below the getPosition function, and we'll add a new function, showPosition. And when our getPosition function calls the showPosition function, it's going to pass it a variable that represents the actual position data. So we need a variable built into our function to catch that data. I'll just call it position. Now we'll set up some grouping braces to define that function. And since this is going to be past the position data, the only thing that I want to do is display it. We've got a place built into our document for that data to show up, for the latitude and the longitude data. So all I'm going to do is extract that data and place it into the span ID for latitude and longitude here. First, I'll find that HTML element on the page by calling document getElementById. And for the first one, I want the latitude element. I'll set up the inner HTML property so we can write directly to the page. And we want to set that equal to the actual latitude that comes back from our user's position. So we'll start off with the position variable. And we'll use dot syntax to tunnel down through it and get the coordinates. That's coords. And then I can find the latitude dot latitude. In the same way, we can get the longitude. So let's copy this statement, and we'll set up the second value. I'll paste it down below, and of course, we'll change the ID to longitude. And we want the data, so we'll go to Position, Coords, Longitude. Now we've got just enough code to see how it's going to work. Now, once again, our user is going to click the button to get their location. That will call our getPosition function. Our function first checks to see if the browser supports geolocation, and if it does, it goes ahead and requests the position. This will call our showPosition function and pass that position off to it. If the browser doesn't support it, the user will just get an alert message. Let's save our changes, and let's go ahead and give it a try. First, I'll refresh my page so that we can see the new code, and then I'll go ahead and click our location button. You can see that my browser asks me if I'd like to share my location. So I'll go ahead and share it this time. We always have to have the user's permission. As soon as I do share that location, you can see that my latitude and longitude values show up right here.